Jayant Kalagnanam is Director of AI Applications at IBM and a distinguished industry leader focused on heavy industries. He's helped bring AI and optimization technologies out of the lab and into the real world, driving major impact in sectors like steel, oil and gas, and energy. Jayant's the kind of mind that turns complex data into practical solutions, and he does it with clarity, purpose, and a deep respect for industry. Jayant, welcome to the stand.
Jayant, welcome to the stand.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. We had a really great wrap talk from you yesterday about what's going on in research and development on AI, especially in relation to asset management. What's new? What's hot?
I think there are several very exciting new threads. And I think one common thing across a lot of these threads is this idea that we can build foundation models for maybe sensor data, also for image data, which allows us to do basically off-the-shelf zero-shot learning, right?
And what's zero shot for the people who are...
Yeah. So traditionally when we did machine learning, right, we needed a lot of data on which we had to train a model to be able to use it for, say, anomaly detection or for, say, visual inspection, right? Now we are getting to the point where we don't need the customization, right? We can take a model that's been pre-trained on publicly available data, right, and use that as a starting point, right? And the advantage, of course, is that the reason we call it zero shot is you don't need a lot of training on that specific data, right? So either you can get away without doing any customization at all in many cases, or in some cases we do what is called a zero shot, which is a very small amount of data is required to sort of get the model customized for the domain.
So that's for that sort of context, that unique context of what that client wants to do, but the model itself already sort of knows how to speak English and ask questions and what a question is versus I'm making simple, but in other words, the model is already smart, so you don't need to train that part of the model.
Exactly. A good analogy, I often think of is, when you take a student and put them through, say, undergraduate school, right? Now they've learned engineering. Right now, all you have to do is to give them a little bit of thinking and ideas about, okay, how do I use it for, say, turbines?
Yeah.
As opposed to bringing somebody who doesn't have the training, then you'd have to apprentice them for a very long time.
Now, for the average Maximo user, is there anything they need to do? Do they need to go study prompt engineering? Do they need to study Python? What do they need to do to sort of get ready for this revolution that's actually here already?
Great question, right? So one of the things that these approaches actually do is it's, in a sense, mitigates the amount of effort that clients have to do in order to use these models, right? So often for zero shot, right, they can just pull the model off the shelf and apply it to their problems, right? But the other thing that we are also doing is, in many instances, we might want to do a little bit of prompting, just like we do in language. We want to enable that for images or for sensor data. So in fact, what the user needs to be able to do, right, is essentially one of two things. One is take off-the-shelf models, right, and then for visual inspection, just annotate the defects of interest or objects of interest, right? And with about a half a dozen to a dozen such annotations, they're ready to go. They have a model that understands what they want on a particular production line.
From an AI application point of view, is visual data, text data, or time series sensor data, is there a best?
I think it would depend on the context, but in general, I wouldn't say there's a best. In fact, our thinking is more how do we fuse the use of all sources of data, right? So for a typical setting, right, you have the history of work orders for a given asset. That has some valuable data, right? Job plans, how did we do maintenance before, right? What kind of failure patterns did we observe? And now if we can couple that with actually the sensor data, right, that allows us to sort of actually look for very specific patterns as opposed to looking for a needle in a haystack, right? And now on top of it, if there was an image that told me that there's an oil drip, that allows me to look for a particular failure mode then my diagnostic can be targeted towards that, right? So the fusion of all these sources would actually, I think, really speed up the way we do diagnostics, right, in terms of solving for failures and for maintenance, actually.
So is it that should the maintenance? So how should the maintenance worker or the Maximo worker hold this? Is it a threat to their job? Will it replace them?
Oh, I don't think so. Fundamentally, even after we build, somewhat intelligent agents, right? We're talking a lot about agentic workflows. The fundamental, in a sense, shortcoming for these agents is they don't have experiential knowledge, right? So the ability, we can ask them to go do something for us in terms of testing a hypothesis, but they can't tell us, the outcome is valid in the real world, right? I think we are far from replacing humans doing this, right? I think that experiential knowledge is really at the core of intelligence that makes an idea something that we can use, right? And I think humans, so I think what will happen is these kind of agents will become really, advisors and assistants for everyday work, right? And we see this in science fiction all the time. We have robots and assistants and computer on Star Trek, right? We're getting closer to that kind of a view where we can, in natural language, more easily interact with these systems to help us do what we need to do with better productivity.
It's interesting because IBM could have chosen many different approaches, but it seems like what you've chosen is an open, transparent approach to your models and how they're built and what they're based on and things of that nature. I guess let's take the other side of that. Is there an advantage or a disadvantage to a closed model?
Yeah. Yes, along several different directions. So first is the advantage with an open model is it allows for a community of people to actually experiment with the model and provide feedback into the model, right? So it sort of can, just like the open source community, right? It can improve at a much faster rate, right? And it also becomes something that can help an entire community, right? We can transfer learning from one to another, right? Of course, we can put guardrails to sort of make sure that the provenance of the data that we are bringing in is the right one, right? So we pay a lot of attention to that, right? We do not use data where the provenance doesn't go through our legal system, right? Whereas in a closed system, we really, don't know what has gone into training the model, right? Are we infringing on somebody's copyright, right? So that's one class of issues with closed models. The other class of issues with closed models is without having transparency into how the model was built, it doesn't allow for, experimentation at the core level in the larger modeling community where they can keep improving on it, right? So my expectation is that, by being, in doing open AI, we'll accelerate the pace at which we can sort of build these very useful models as we go forward.
Very nice. As you're building these models, are they going to, especially related to asset management, reliability, maintenance, are they only going to be available in Maximo? And I know Maximo is, getting wider and deeper, and it's really, almost the whole world of asset management and asset lifecycle management. Are we going to be able, to take that as I guess the AI, what I'm asking, can it be a standalone or is it integrated? Or is it both?
Good question. So currently we are trying to embed the use of this AI into Maximo so that it's much easier for the end user to use this, right? But more broadly, right, within IBM, the AI is also, built on our platform, which is watsonx.ai, right? So a lot of the core foundational capabilities will actually be available on watsonx.ai, but the way we consume it for asset management, right, will be made embedded into Maximo, right? And the advantage of that is the following, right? For everyday users, right, they don't necessarily need a development environment to do programming, right? So there you want to enable an interface which is as natural and seamless as possible in their everyday environment, right? Whereas for that part of the community that actually wants to go do the software development to do some experimentation with it, right? We'll provide them with a way of accessing watsonx.ai as the place to go, use the SDK, right, to do development, right? And all the way to Red Hat, right, where we even provide the models for free, where like hardcore data science and AI developers can go. So in a sense, there's like a ladder, right, in terms of access to it.
Do the Maximo users have to now start to obsess about the quality of their data? Or will the AI be able to kind of understand that their data maybe isn't the best, it may have some inaccuracies, or it may be missing some pieces? Where should they hold the aspect of the quality of the data that they're currently living with?
Yes. So I think a lot of the new directions with zero shot, is really helping towards getting to a point where we don't need a lot of very high quality data, right? It's not uncommon for people to sort of worry about the quality of the data that they have, right? But with these few shot learning kind of techniques, it really lowers the bar in terms of the amount of quality data that you need to, like I was saying previously, like maybe a dozen instances, right? Or for sensor data, maybe a week's worth of data to really say, okay, I'll train you for a week and you're good to go, right? So even if we don't have a lot of very good quality data, if we can take historical data and just curate the parts where we know we have confidence in the data, that might be more than sufficient to essentially teach the model, how to think about that particular problem without going through a very long training period, so to speak, right? So I think the need for very large amounts of high quality data is going to be alleviated in a big way with these models.
Is there anything else you want to recommend to the Maximo user that they need to do to prepare for this AI revolution that's coming? Because it sounds like you're making it that it's really just kind of seamless with the app. If you know how to use the Maximo application suite, you're going to already AI. You're working with AI.
Yeah, absolutely, right. To a certain extent, things like work order intelligence, FMEA content builder, right? By using the app, you're going to be working with it automatically, right? But the other thing that we have started to do since last year is to provide a lot of our capabilities as accelerators as part of Maximo, right? Which is available for free, right? Just like we also did with the time series models, right? We made it available in Hugging Face for free. We'll probably also bring it into our, anomaly detection accelerator in Maximo. So in a sense, you can get an early sort of access to use the core capability, right? Especially if you want to, get a head start on it, right? And get an understanding of how it might play out for you. And I think there's a broader play, right? Because being here in MaximoWorld, it's great, right? We meet the end user, we meet partners who help end users, right, by helping them configure Maximo or even programming around it. So I think even that community could sort of adopt, right, some of these accelerators that we put out there to sort of experiment, for custom applications that they can help build for their client base around Maximo. Right? So I think that's sort of in a sense, there's no prep necessary, but on the other hand, sort of thinking about how to use these capabilities, experiment with them. I think there's a great opportunity. It's becoming easier, right? And the bar is lowered in terms of the amount of work that needs to go into it.
It sounds like it's very positive and it's just going to get better and better. Can you paint, without telling us any trade secrets, can you paint a year from now or 2 years? Should we expect movement from where we are now, 12 months and 24 months from now? Or is that too quick?
No, I think we'll see a lot of movement in 12 to 24 months, right? So I do think that the ability for us to do zero shot and few shot really will accelerate the use of these models, right, in multiple sort of scenarios and multiple sort of domains, in a very, very rapid way, right? And then, like I highlighted some of the new directions with agentic workflows, where we can actually teach these models, right, really to use the tools that are available in Maximo, plus the other backend systems, to really take human hypotheses or inquiries, right, and go test it out, right, in terms of understanding the language, converting into code, mapping it back into sensor data to go test for the hypothesis and come back with a view, right? So in a sense, for an end user, you get another level of sophistication where if you look at a set of alarms that are on your screen, you can actually interact with the system to go analyze it, ultimately to create a work order. So I do see that in the next 12 to 24 months, we getting there, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. And I think we can do, the value these things bring, right? If we can do this in an automated fashion, is dramatic.
It really is. It's super exciting times, and it's really cool to meet you and to know this is coming out of the IBM research area and get a little advanced picture of it. The programming you showed on the RAV Talk I saw many jaws just drop in the audience when you did. So that was really great. And I want to thank you. If there's anything we can ever do to support your research in the future, please let us know. We're very excited about your work, very positive about it. It's already having, I think, a profound impact in the marketplace, and I can't wait to see the effect this time next year as well.
Oh, thank you, Terrence. It's always a pleasure to be here at MaximoWorld. You do a fantastic job of bringing so many users, as I said earlier, of the entire spectrum, right? End users to developers to partners. It's really energizing to sort of talk to them to both ways, right? To understand what are the areas where we can impact, right? And also to discuss how we can use really the accelerated path that AI is headed on, right? So
Thank you for the conversation, Jayant.
Likewise, thank you.
Appreciate it.